Who was the right man for Carrie? Big, Aiden, Berger, or Petrovsky? What do you think? In this video, I'm going to compare side by side Big and Petrovsky and explain why, in my opinion, out of all of Carrie's boyfriends, Petrovsky was actually the one who suited her the best. In the show, Petrovsky basically presented as the opposite of Big. They recreate many of the same situations Carrie once had with John, skipping a dinner with her friends, or moving into his apartment, or moving to Paris. There's so many parallels, and it's like the writers are showing us a healthier version of a relationship, showing us how things could be, just so that right in the end, Carrie still chooses Big. And Petrovsky wasn't perfect by all means. He had his flaws, he had his red flags. But with him, Carrie seemed happier and more balanced, or at least while they were still in New York. Paris unfortunately brought their relationship to an end. So let's break it down. We will talk about why this relationship worked, what green flags it had, and why it ended. Hi, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Anna, and I'm certified relationship coach based in Germany. On this channel, I explore relationship dynamics through popular movies and TV shows, helping you understand complex psychological patterns using well-known characters and stories. And this is my Sex in the City series. So far, we have explored relationship patterns of Mr. Big, Samantha, Miranda, and a little bit of Charlotte. In today's video, we are doing a deep dive on Carrie, iconic character that keeps us hooked. She is also a very complicated character. Carrie has an anxious avoidant attachment type, which means she craves closeness and connection, but also fears them. And that makes it difficult for her to build stable, long-term relationships. And another important aspect of Carrie is that she doesn't really understand personal boundaries. That means that the men in her life often end up walking all over her, but at the same time, she frequently crosses their boundaries as well. The thing about unclear, weak personal boundaries is that they are two-way street. If the person doesn't really feel where those boundaries are, what is okay and what is not, they can't hold others accountable. They can't say, not with me and not like that. But also, they don't really notice when they are the ones crossing the line. We see a lot of this in the show. For example, when Carrie stalks Big's mother in a church, or shows up drunk in the middle of the night at his place after their second date, or thinks that Charlotte is obligated to help her financially.
Why didn't you offer me the money?
I knew you were gonna say that.
I wouldn't take it.
Well, then what does it matter if I offer it or not?
Because you don't even have to work. You're volunteering.
Carrie, I love you. But it's not my job to fix your finances. You're a 35-year-old woman. You need to learn to stand on your own.
Carrie keeps crossing boundaries without even realizing it. And the thing is, she crosses boundaries not because she's mad or bad, but because some people never learned what healthy boundaries are. This often starts in childhood, when a parent doesn't respect child's space or feelings. And such children often grow into adults who themselves constantly violate the boundaries of others. So, what do we have? Carrie is a person with anxious, avoidant attachment type and unclear boundaries. And she needs a partner who is emotionally mature, patient, and clear about their own limits. And well, if it would be a real life, she would need a good therapist, but yeah, let's not mention that. And already here, we can say that Big isn't that kind of man Carrie needs, because he's an avoidant from head to toe, and when Carrie crosses his boundaries, even in the small ways, he gets scared and pulls back. Petrovsky, on the other hand, unlike Big, can handle Carrie much better. But why? He has secure attachment type, clear boundaries, and emotional stability. And he's not afraid of intimacy or confrontation, what is important. And Petrovsky is also used to direct communication and doesn't interpret Carrie's intensity as threat. Instead of pulling away, he can stay present. He can talk through things and hold his own boundaries without shutting down. And this is a good foundation for Carrie to heal, to open up. She's going from a survival mode toward a healthy relationship.
I deleted Big.
You deleted Big?
Yep.
Did you call him to tell him you deleted him?
Nope.
Wow, that's new.
Delete, delete, delete. 3 messages last week.
What do you think he was calling about?
Don't know. And for the first time, don't really care. After his last trip, I finally got it. What's the point? things are serious with the Russian.
Really? That's great.
It's just so different and so... what? It's grown up. There's not a lot of fuss. There's no confusion about how he feels about me. He tells me all the time, unlike answering machine up there in Napa.
Sounds perfect.
Let's compare the two situations where Carrie wants Big and Alexander to meet her friends, and both meetings go wrong. Big first says that he won't come, and then shows up anyway. Meanwhile, Carrie rides an emotional roller coaster. First disappointment, then euphoria. Something as simple and basic as a man showing up to a dinner time creates a huge emotional storm, and that's a huge red flag. A healthy relationship should feel like a calm water. Later we see a similar situation with Petrovsky. He doesn't come to meet Carrie's friends because something comes up at work. Not the nicest move, but what's important here is Carrie's reaction. With the Russian, Carrie starts reacting in a calmer and more confident way. He didn't show up because he's working. Upsetting, but okay. The world doesn't end because of that. Her friends react calmly too, and then Petrovsky sends her a small, charming compliment, a polite gesture to smooth things over, and that leaves actually a good impression. With Petrovsky, the situation doesn't trigger an emotional storm, and this is a green flag. If you are thinking about long-term relationship, not a short fling, it is much better when it feels stable, secure, and maybe even a little bit boring. Because if you can't sleep, can't work, can't, stop thinking about other person, your nervous system won't be able to do that for a very long time. On my channel, I already have a step-by-step video on Big and Carrie's early relationship, where I explain how Carrie's attraction to Big was unbalanced from the very beginning and what consequences it had. I highly recommend you watching it. With Petrovsky, Carrie wasn't hooked because their attraction developed in a mutual, steady way. There were no extreme highs and lows at the start. Petrovsky is consistent and doesn't have any problems with showing affection, and that helped Carrie stay overall calmer, more balanced, more patient. You can see a lot of positive dynamic in their relationship during their time in New York. Take this scene with the designer dress, for example. Petrovsky remembers Carrie's favorite designer and chooses a gift based on her preferences and tastes. That contrasts so sharply with the sparkling swan bag that Big gave her just because every woman in his social circle was wearing it. So what went wrong? Why did their relationship have to end? I have identified 4 main reasons. First one, the wrong motives for the moves to Paris. Second, big sacrifices, false expectations. Third, poor communication skills. And the last one, an inability to navigate crisis. Wow, that's a lot. Let's start with wrong motives. Carrie moves because she's afraid of being alone. She's deeply affected by the party where she first talks with her publisher about how hard it is to be a successful woman over 50 who still hasn't found her partner. And then she sees the party girl fall out of the window. All of this triggers a sense of fear and scarcity in Carrie.
If you're a successful 50-something woman, there's a very small pool. It's very small. It's a wading pool, really. So why are you swimming in my wading pool?
She even tells Miranda, all of your lives are changing. You're moving forward and I don't want to end up alone. It's precisely this fear of loneliness that pushes her into making such a big move. You can even call it a sacrifice. When we are acting from fear or scarcity, it's really hard to make a well-balanced decision. Another unhealthy motive for moving abroad is wounded ego. Carrie is simply thrilled that Petrovsky invited her to Paris. After her relationship with Big, who went to Paris without her and left her hurt behind, she finally felt chosen. Because of that, Carrie doesn't even want to ask questions, and she makes an impulsive decision without fully understanding what it really means to move to another country. Immigration isn't a fairy tale journey, it's a serious and difficult process. You have to be ready for that. And I know most of you can't stand Big, but in the situation with the move to Paris, he was right when he said if Carrie went to Paris, she needed to go for herself, not for him. Carrie reacts very emotionally in that scene, but in truth, his point is a healthy one, especially in the start of the relationship when you are just dating and don't have any family or kids yet. You should want to move to another country because it's right for you, because you can imagine to build a new life from scratch and and not just to follow someone else. If you give up your own life and move only for your partner, it puts a lot of pressure on the relationship. When one partner sacrifices their life, the other partner automatically ends up in emotional debt. They become responsible for making you happy and making sure everything works out in a new place. Suddenly, all the responsibility is on them, and that kind of pressure is very hard and, to be honest, unfair to handle. This is exactly what happens with Carrie and Petrovsky. I am not saying that Carrie shouldn't have moved to Paris with Petrovsky, but she definitely needed to ask herself and him more questions. If Carrie had asked more questions, she might still have gone to Paris, but her expectations would have been more realistic, and she would have been better prepared for what that move actually meant. And this brings us to the second reason why their relationship fell apart in Paris: big sacrifices and false expectations. Carrie sacrificed her life in New York for Petrovsky, and she expected him to make the same sacrifices for her. She placed him at the center of her life. For Petrovsky, Carrie was certainly important, but he invited her to be a part of his life in Paris, not to become his entire meaning of existence. And during the very busy period of preparing for his exhibition, Petrovsky doesn't have much time for Carrie. Not because he doesn't want to, but simply because he doesn't have energy left. And that was a short season to go through, but that season created misaligned expectations.
You want to try it?
Okay. It's all right.
It's lovely. Listen, I know I've been busy, but as soon as the exhibit opens, it'll be just you and me, I promise. Okay?
These misaligned expectations created resentment in Carrie. There's a very telling scene where Carrie walks alone through the city, sad music playing, Paris shown as cold and unfriendly through her eyes. It feels like if she isn't given it a chance. And later when Petrovsky comes home, she pretends to be asleep to avoid connecting with him. That moment highlights the lack of communication and emotional understanding between them. Moving to Paris puts their relationship in first ever crisis. Every time when we experience a big change in our lives is a good chance that our relationship might go through a crisis. Childbirth, career change, moving, and so on. Crisis starts when resources that usually been there start missing. There are 5 main resources: time, money, people, health, and information. When one is missing, you start feeling uncomfortable. But when 2 or more are missing, relationship enters a crisis. From Carrie's side, the resource she was missing was people. She left her friends, her entire support system, and her work behind. That is incredibly difficult. From Petrovsky's side, the issue was time, and to some degree health. He was under enormous pressure. His exhibition in Paris was taking place in the National Museum. It's a huge deal. After a 6-year break, he also felt the weight of expectations as a famous artist who wanted to remain relevant. That kind of pressure puts a tremendous strain on the nervous system, and Petrovsky was barely sleeping. This is a crisis situation, and for a relationship, it's really important to understand where it comes from. You know, example out of my personal life. Me and my husband moved cities last year, and this move brought crisis with it. First 2 months we've been really happy, exciting about moving to a bigger city. It was a stressful time, but we weren't unhappy. But 6 months in, and relationships started to struggle. We were really annoyed with each other and starting fights out of nowhere. And 3 out of 4 conversations were turning negative. Like 3 words into conversation and someone was already pissed or annoyed. Life back in our old place felt like rainbows and unicorns. And life here felt like, oh, is it really my relationship? Is it really a person I love? And in a situation like this, before panicking and running away from the relationship, you should ask yourself, okay, is the problem that we're not compatible? Is my partner a problem? Is the relationship a problem? Or are we going through a big change and something is missing? Time, money, health, people, or information. In our case, missing resources were time, money, and people. We moved cities, so we lost a lot of connections. We didn't know anyone here, and we went from working in office to 100% home office. It means that seeing each other 24/7 and talking live only to each other. That's a hard one. And then Munich is a pricey city. I believe it's the most expensive city in Germany. So our expenses tripled. Money became problem. So people, money is a problem. Then we start working overtime, sometimes even with no weekends. Time became problem. It still is, but we manage that. That's a lot to put on a relationship. And ironically, it's really hard in those times to see a bigger picture. What is affecting the relationship? Most of the time, most of us start questioning the relationship itself. Oh, are we really that compatible? Oh, is it the right partner for me? That's a wrong mindset. For me and my husband, 1.5 years after moving, our relationship is great again. But that's only because we've been working together against the issues that affected our relationship. We've been working on money, on time, and on people, creating new connections. And that is what healthy relationship, I believe we have a healthy relationship, is about. Working together, seeing bigger picture together, and not working against each other, not questioning each other all the time. So if you struggle in your relationship, maybe your relationship is in crisis, maybe that's because something is missing. And that something is 5 main resources: time, money, people, information, or health. The same thing happens with Petrovsky and Carrie. They're going through crisis. Petrovsky is under too much pressure and has very little time to take care of relationship. And Carrie, in my opinion, starts panic too soon. I really like the idea you've probably heard many times from therapists, the idea of seasons of life. Life changes and we go through different seasons. And the best thing you can do is ask your partner what kind of support he or she needs in this particular season. Knowing what is missing in a relationship, what's affecting a relationship, and understanding seasons helps to navigate in crisis. Yeah, that was my take on Carrie and Petrovsky. What do you think? Are they compatible, or was Beg a better match for Carrie? If you have questions about specific scenes, ask me in the comments below. I will share my perspective because there's so much more to talk about. Thank you for watching until the end. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next videos coming. And I see you. Bye bye.